We interrupt this program to bring you an important Wayfair message. Wayfair's got style tips for every home. This is Styles McKenzie helping you make those rooms sing. Today's style tip. When it comes to making a statement, treat bold patterns like neutrals. Go wild, like an untamed animal print area rug under a rustic farmhouse table from Wayfair.com. Arr, fierce. This has been your Wayfair style tip to keep those interiors superior.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, you know, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Hi, welcome to the DIY Science podcast, where we tell the stories of the DIY science communities. My name is Joram, and with me today is Lucy.
Hello. Yeah, so DIY science, the way that we see it is different people, groups and communities that are engaging with science, using science, using scientific techniques and approaches, often for their own reasons, to investigate their own questions and deal with their own challenges outside of an institutional context.
And we started this podcast to address these different communities, to give them the room to tell their stories, to connect with each other, and to also give exposure to these communities to a bigger audience that might not actually be aware of what's going on, because it's so diverse and so fascinating to look into these communities.
Yeah, and today we're going to zoom out a little bit on DIY science, and we have with us Célia Cruzon-Daniel, who is a open science activist who turned social scientist, who's been connected with DIY science and more broadly with open science for a number of years. And we thought it would be great to talk to her about her research and maybe through looking at the broader picture of open science to try and understand some of the challenges that we're facing in the DIY science movement through that lens. So we know each other already for a few years. I think we met back at ESOF, the Open European Science Open Forum, and I think it was 2014.
2014 in Copenhagen, yes.
That's right. Yeah, we were on part of the reason was a panel about open science and community.
Yes.
I think that was organized by
a nice panel
friends.
with not a usual format, like unusual format.
Exactly. It's very interactive and conversational. Yeah. And back then you were representing a project called Hack Your PhD.
Yes.
Actually, I think I'm just going to ask you, like, where you come from, how you came to open science. You could tell us a little bit about Hack Your PhD, and then, just tell us how you came to be where you are now.
Okay, and first of all, thank you, Joram and Lucy, to organize this podcast in Berlin.
Thank you for being with us. It's always a pleasure.
Maybe I can just introduce myself and Hack Your PhD. Hack Your PhD, it's a small organization. We have been started, I think, in 2012 or 2012-13. I'm not good with date and years. And why? It was because I was before social science. My background is in biology, then in neuroscience, and I had a choice to start a PhD or not. And at this time, I decided not to continue in research because for me it was so far from my dream of research and the academic world compared to my ideal of science was so different that I said I don't want to continue in research. And after I did some science communication, I've worked for like 3 years in a scientific social network. The name is My Science Work. And I also discovered all these startup worlds about science, digital science. And the network was based on open access to facilitate open access with a sort of library on this topic. And at this time, I say, okay, it's great, but I like research, and there are so many research to do about what's going on in research today with digital technologies. And I was so passionate about what we can observe online with all this community, these DIY science communities who are doing research today, who are discussing with other scientists online. It was the beginning also of all this scientific blog, but also all this citizen science research. I remember I went to, at UCL in London, a big conference about extreme citizen science, for example, and I was passionate about that. And there are so many things to observe and to understand that I say I like research. I like asking like questions and figuring out some solutions. That I create this Hack Your PhD group with Guillaume Dumas, with now cognitive neuroscientist at Institut Pasteur in Paris. And we co-founded this group just to discuss about open science and how we can do research differently today with all this digital technology and with this access to this paper, and that's it. And that's it. We start Hack Your PhD like that. And today, Hack Your PhD, we are a small communities, and what we do, we share online news about open science, try also to define it. We did a lot of interviews with open scientists, a lot in the United States, because I did a crowdfunding campaign for a Hack Your PhD in the US tour, and it took me 2 months, and I did a lot of interview with like entrepreneurship, open scientists, and also I visited a lot of hackerspace, makerspace, and everything is online. It was a big part of what we are doing right now with Hack Your PhD, and we organize also some training about programming, to learn programming, but with a specific approach. We are like activists, open science activists, but with this free software activism. That's why our session used Python, which is now a really used programming language. And yes, it's quite. We have been organizing a huge hackathon, and we just try to connect also different people together and see what is open science today, and which is a huge work.
So in a sense, it's actually kind of a DIY science social study.
Kind of,
yeah,
yes.
And independently done research on what the open science movement is. Like
yes.
Kind of activist research.
And it was really because now I'm a PhD student, and now I have almost finished. Hope so. In 6 months it will be over. Really, I cross my finger for that. It was really an experiment for me, an immersion in social science, and to understand academic world also in social science, which quite different from in in biology. There is some specificities,
cultural differences.
Yes,
yeah. Yes,
and all my PhD has been also to find a way to hack it. And by doing, I think now I can understand how I hack my PhD. Also,
can you give like an example of your practical work in a PhD or how you hacked it?
Yes, my topic for my PhD is to study open science. Like, it was really also, and I think it's related to DIY science, because I have a first question, and I was not a social scientist at this time. It was, what does open means in science. And really it was what I was doing with actual PhD. I remember I attended to some conference and I was asking question to these open scientists. What is open science for you? What is different from science? And what are your practice? And I was doing like, it was more journalism, and but it became my topic. And my topic came from a fight between people who were defending like open access. And I discovered that they don't have the same meaning for openness, and for open access means for them different things. That's why all my PhDs about analyzing conflicts when people from open science world, but also from science, academic science world, just fight to define what is openness in science and how to do it today. And for that, I did really an ethnographical approach, which means I study everything online, but also in some conference, because I've been in this world, like open science world, and I know a lot French people doing or being activist in this open access change. And that's why it's really an ethnographical approach. But I studied a specific case, which is a new law in France. The name is Digital Republic, French Republic, or something like that. And there is a specific time where there is a consultation online, and they ask, what do you think about, we have a first version of the law, of the digital bill, what do you think? And you can comment, you can also change the proposed new version of an article. And one article was about open access.
Okay. Just in case, just to back up, I'm sure probably everybody out there listening to the podcast knows about open access and knows what it is. But
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ13 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Sure. Just in case, if you could explain what they were proposing in the bill and what that means, what open access means as well.
And it was a topic, what open access means, and I can explain. Usually, open access is to say that, I don't know if people are used to searching for some scientific article, but you have to search online in some big database. And often, usually, you have to pay for that. The name is, you have a paywall, because publisher own the article. When you publish an article in a big journal, because it's great when you are a scientist, because if you publish in Nature, for example, it makes
your career.
Yes, it makes your career. really. That's why you have also, we call that publish or perish. You have to publish, but you have to publish also in really good journal, like Nature, Cell, or it's quite different in social science, but yes, there is some also specificities, but it's also the same topic. And open access it's not normal, because now with digital technologies we don't have to pay to print the article. And why we have to pay for accessing to our own knowledge? That often scientists is when you are funded by public research, you will not be paid for your article. That's why this movement starts with the beginning of internet. In 2000, there is some manifesto and declaration about that, and this movement starts with we open access movement with different way of doing open access. One is create new journal, open access journal, but the other one is archive, open archive. Like you can, it's a big database,
repository.
Yes, big repository where you can just download your article, and it's a two-way of practicing open access. But now there are other one also, and for this bill, open access is just to give the right to scientists after a certain amount of time, 6 months. At the beginning, 12 months or 24 months, 12 months for STM, like physics, and 24 months for social science, to put online wherever you want your article. But before you can, because there is an embargo. But this law,
so that's green root open access, basically, where it's self-archiving rather than letting
it's more
the publishers.
these green roots, and but it's also you can also it's not only in a repository. It's just you can publish
on a web page.
Yes,
okay.
But you have it's really because this bill it's national, and it's really a right for the citizen who are scientists.
And is that like the 12 and 24 months, is that in a proposition, or is that already like law now? Is that in effect?
And it's the big part of my study. It's this embargo. At the beginning, the first version of the law was 12 months for STM and 24 months for social science. But at the European level, there is also some indication for that, and it's 6 months for STM and 12 months for social science.
Yeah, everything funded by Horizon 2020 is for natural sciences is 6 months at least.
And it was a big topic during this consultation because people from institutional also research say, no, it's not normal. We have to fit the European Commission H 2020 rules. And the social scientists, the publisher in social science say, no, we will die if it's less than 24 months. That's why it was a big fight, one of the big fights during this consultation between
the embargo period.
Yes, with the embargo period. And it's what I have studied a lot, because you see all the specificities also of publishing and the difference between STM and this fight against the big commercial publisher, and more in France, the small publishing house, like the small, publishers who are not this big commercial one, and they want to survive in the French landscape. And really, my perspective in this research is not to judge, because really my past, I am an open access activist.
Yeah,
but I change also a lot with this. My point of view changed a lot with this.
How did you see it before you started the studies in your PhD? What was your perspective? How did you define open science and open?
For me, and it was the first year of my PhD, and all my PhD also it's a meta-reflexive approach about what is research, and all these 3 years emerge in social science. And the first year when I studied also a little in Quebec, and I was like in the middle of winter alone, studied book, and I really cut with, I don't know how to say that, but I was far from Hack Your PhD in France. That's why I take some distance, I read a lot. And yes, at the beginning, open science was just this perspective of scientists who fight for they just want to access to this article. But also, open science it's different. It's also to change all what the European Commission they say that it's the modus operandi of research. Like not only access to the scientific article, but change also the way we are practicing research, which is more and more computational. And that we can also share our data. We can also, of course, publish our thoughts about research in some scientific blog or podcast, or I don't know. But we can also share our code when we are doing some analysis. That reproducibility is really important. And this is my open science world. It's where in Hack Your PhD we try also to invent a new way of practicing research with new digital platform, and we are just hacking things, trying, experimenting what is a good the best way of doing research, and big research with quality. Because right now, with all this publish and perish and pressure, often people just want to publish. That's why my point of view my perspective was that open science as a best way of practicing research and good quality research. And in my PhD now, it's like, as I told you, like 2 pages of 300 pages.
Is that description?
Yes,
that perspective,
because it's just a tiny perspective.
Yeah.
And all my PhD has to discover that behind this open scientist world, and also all this digital tech entrepreneur and everything in Hack Your PhD or States was about this world. And all my PhD say, oh no, it's quite different. There are other people. There is all the institution. There is all this big, also this European level, all people who manage research, who have to change also their practice. There is this publisher, the big one, international one, but in social science, also this small publisher. And there is also this STM world, but also this social science world, and with not the same idea of what is research and how it's more what we call the epistemological approach of research. It means how we produce research and what is scientifically correct. And yes, it was all my these 3 years was to take a step back and try to understand the point of view of each stakeholders and not to judge them. That's why I have my personal opinion, and also I understand better why I started Hack Your PhD, but I don't want to judge. I just want to show that it's a complex topic, and it's really linked to, and it's also interesting for other fields, not only science, but for health, education, because it's what digital technologies change today in our institution, in our organization, in our way of thinking also, but also of politically fighting, I don't know if but also activism is changing. And with my PhD I try to give some not news, but to understand better that.
Yeah, I think that it touches everything in such a fundamental way that we don't really fully understand yet. digitization is like
Yes.
the ability for everyone to share their thoughts in the internet is like, we're in the middle of some interesting transition right now.
And that's why I'm still an activist for internet rights, because with my PhD also
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ13 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
now like control and is based on our way of using technologies, and it's more it's like soft power, like you know, when you are using Facebook or YouTube, you have all these algorithm parts of recommendation, and today a lot of things are based on this algorithm. And who are developing this algorithm? Data scientists. And data scientists, they come from also often research, but not only computational science. But when you are studying biology, you have computational skills now. You have to know how to analyze data. And a lot of people from science are just leaving science, like academic world, to go elsewhere where there is money. And it's big company or small company, and more research or business model are based on computational thinking. And there are a lot of scientists who are going to this field. That's why it's also a question for all of us, and it's really a critical question, not only for scientists but for all citizens, to understand what is behind our computer. And that yes, recommendation is based on some people programming something. And that's why also citizen, like political questions, are more based on technological issues. And for me it's really important to let people know that they have to understand also what are these technologies.
Coming back to the stakeholder analysis, sort of that work that you said that you undertook, I'm very interested in what are the point of views, or what are what is the point of view on open science from some of these stakeholders, like from academia, and is there a way to approach these communities? Like I know you don't want to judge their points of view, which I find is very important, but still we have to acknowledge that like there's different camps or like different ideas. And how do you see these approaching to each other? Is there a way? Is there like common ground?
I can give like some example of the perspective. A big one is the management part, like what we call scientific information, like all the responsible for information and scientific technology
within institutions.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's people in this institution, they are just responsible for organizing the way that you will share research, and also all the infrastructure you will you have to create to share research, for example, repository, journals, and but they have also to get some funding for that. And often, for example, in France, we have big research institutions, and these members are really active also to for open access, because they want that the research has to be efficient first. It's a management point of view. Research has to be efficient. It's really important, but it has to be also sustainable. Like, we don't have to lose money. Yeah. That's why today for them, their point of view is we are paying so many, how to say that, for the editor, for the publisher.
Yeah, the publishing costs are so high.
Yeah, the publishing costs are so high for all the library that we have to stop that. And we have to balance. Like, it's like a balance to find between the interest of commercial publisher and the interest of public science. Yeah. And it's one of the big fight. And in France, for this management perspective, it's really related to what's going on in the European level. Because who is giving money? Europe. Yeah. There are a lot, like Lucy, you mentioned H2020. It's a big project with a lot of funding for, I think, 7 years each time. And you just... So. Sorry?
7 or 8, I can't remember.
I can't remember. Yeah. But... and the H2020 has a big part about open access. If you are paid by research, if your research are funded by Europe, you have to put all your publication in open access after 6 or 24 months. And now they are also really active on not only for open access, but also for open data, to create some repository at the European level for that, and for open science. And in 2015, I think, Carlos Moedas, who is one of the responsible of H2020, his motto was open science, open innovation, open to the world. But what is important to understand, it's really economical and managerial perspective.
It's not an ideological...
It's always mixed. That's why it's in social science we use what we call the ideal type. It's like big perspective. It's not the reality, but it's help to understand how it works. It's like not the reality, but it's an ideal. That's why this perspective, it's in... If you speak with people from Europe, they will mix some different perspective. But in my research, to do some big difference, it helps to understand how it works.
Okay.
That's why this management perspective for an efficient research, save money. It is one of the perspectives. And it's really different from, for example, another perspective, which is related to more free software and open source activists, and which is closer to the DIY science.
Yeah, right.
DIY science, which is science is not only for scientists or for researchers or for academic scientists. And this is new movement which starts with internet, which knowledge is everywhere. And we are not only a knowledge-based economy, we are also a knowledge-based society. And all this movement, it's to have another way of thinking about science. It's really fun. It's like knowledge are everywhere. And now, because often people got in Europe as a bachelor or master degree, and they can understand, they can read maybe with some help of science communication, they can understand what is science, and they can start practicing also. That's why it's more inclusive science, and really a society based on knowledge and of the circulation of knowledge. And that's why it's a totally different perspective also about proprietary rights, like not rights but proprietary system. Like we don't want only to have access and to read a publication online. We want also to have the right to reuse it and to reuse the data and to mix the data, to do something else with all this amount of data and it's really this perspective. That's why this perspective also is related to some way of changing the society, also politically, but also the economy with new business model, and also the way that we share with some licenses, for example, Creative Commons licenses, but it's licenses which come from the programming world with open source and free software. And also an important part is not to pay for software like Microsoft, for example, Microsoft Word, but use free software or open source software. And it's really a different way of thinking, also the world, the society, and organization of the society. And it's really what also I try to show in my PhD.
So that's we've talked about the science management perspective, which is all about efficiency, and kind of financial considerations, but also good knowledge management and how you balance achieving that with the kind of commercial interests of publishers. Then we've talked about open science activism.
Yes.
Inspired by free and open source software movement and knowledge society. What other stakeholders are we talking about in this bill?
The stakeholders, all the stakeholders, or for the open science?
For the open science, the bill that we've. Yeah.
It's related to, and it's not only open. It's really funny because when you are in the first perspective, what I call the techno-industrial world, science is everything, and after it's small conflict between publisher inside science, and after when you look at the other activists, science is just a little small part. Open science is just a small part of a bigger picture, which is open knowledge, but also what we call the commons. I don't know if you have heard about the commons, but it's really a new way of organizing. Not a new way. There is some, but it will be too long to explain the history of commons. But there is a lot of research, theoretical research about that. But it's to organize society with this common, the idea of commons. Like
shared resources.
Collectively managed.
Yes,
collectively managed with some rules. And in this perspective, open science, it's just a small part. Open access, it's a...
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ13 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Small part of a big part, which is about open data, for example, because open data, but not data in research, but data that, for example, the public institutions are producing. They are producing a lot of data about citizens or even the other big company. And now that's why it's a political movement. They say we have to access to data, but we would like to have the rights to reuse it, and it's really important. And yes, the new stakeholders are all this, and it's also why it's interesting. It's not the traditional institution stakeholders with hierarchical vision. It's more small collectives which are also specific way of governance, new way of thinking governance. And for example, you have Acure PhD, but also another foundation, for example, Mozilla, or I don't know, Open Knowledge Foundation. And if there are specific topic, they have to meet and become bigger. They can just join and say we are not, we disagree with this part. And it's not the same organization. It's small collective, and they use a lot of digital technology to organize everything. And it's also what I'm studying in my PhD. It's how the way of politically acting is different. And they don't think the same. They have a different perspective of what is activism.
Yeah, and they have then a different voice as well, right? They can't speak as one voice, which makes it sometimes harder to be heard for them.
And also everything, for example, and also that's why it was really important for me in my research, because when I was studying it, I discovered that what I was practicing, that it was totally normal for me. For Acure PhD, for example, we have a mailing list. We try to use a free software system for mailing list. It's really important for us to use Creative Commons licenses for to get the rights to other people, to share the content, but give attribution of our work. And for me, it was normal. Also, the way that we organize, when we have a question, we discuss a lot on the mailing list. That's why sometimes it takes time, but it's not, even if we are in France, the name is it's a non-profit organization, an association, and I am the president of the Acure PhD. There is some specific roles, but for me it makes no sense just to make a decision and that the other will follow. But for me, it's normal. It's like my normal way of doing stuff.
Why would you do it differently?
Yes, but with this PhD, I think, okay, it's a specific approach, and this is a new approach for political contribution also. And it's really different from other, like for example, other people in other stakeholders, to organize also the way they will defend their opinion and position. That's why also it's a broader movement. It's really related to digital technologies, and it's not only activism change, also for all the society. And science is just an example.
Where do you see the smaller independent open science communities or DIY science communities in that bigger picture? Where's their chance to play a bigger role in like the bigger processes, or like how do they fit into that picture? Because we talked a lot about academia right now and the struggles academia have in finding ways to implement open science. But yeah, from our perspective, it's always interesting to talk about the challenges and chances for the DIY science communities.
And that's why it's so interesting also, and I'm so glad to take 3-4 years to study social science and to read a lot about sociology and sociology of organization. What is important to understand that it's a way that it's the dynamic of a society, that nothing is black or white, and everything, when there is some change, and digital technology is a big change for all the organization, but everything is slow and it's compromise, or sometimes some fight, and people just big fight. But in all this movement right now, it's a lot of compromise and sometimes an institutionalization also.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, for DIY science, but also citizen science, at the beginning, it was the same with free software. It was really political and really philosophical point of view. And because it became also a new way of doing and a great way of doing science, and it's also a new right that citizens ask today to be aware of what's going on in research, but they want also to participate. And there is, for example, in health, a lot of research, participative research with some patient groups. And that's why it's normal that things change. And there is all this institutionalization of this movement.
Can you give us an example?
For example, now it's in health, it's normal to have some more and more to have participatory research with group patients, because researchers know also there are a lot of knowledge about their own illness. How do you say that?
Yeah, their condition.
Their condition.
Their diagnosis.
And yes, and they have a lot of knowledge, and it's important to include them to this research. It's one of an example, or another example I have also studied a lot. It's hackathon or this data sprint. Now in some field in research, it comes from really this programming or software world, this format, but it's also a nice way to gather people together and to work together, and more in some, but also in big organization. It's more like a project way of doing stuff. And this hackathon or this specific time or week are great to exchange with people who have different skills. And more in a lot of organization, it's not like with a silo. We have projects, and you need people from programming, you need designer, you need people from communication science. That's why this format is more and more institutionalized in the...
So it's more... so you mean that formats and approaches and ways of accessing information or including other people in terms of like bringing other perspectives and other kinds of information into research is happening in an institutional context.
Yes.
But it's kind of taking some elements of the open science movement, I suppose, or open movement in general.
It's
all of it.
It's the integration of more the skills and the pragmatic approach of the formats to this world. Because why? It's more efficient.
Yeah.
It works better. And because there is also some political stakes about that. And that's why sometimes we have the impression where we are a small activist group, just they use our way of doing, but without us.
Yeah.
But it's and that's why also it's important that there is still this small organization who are still doing and sharing, but it's important to see that it's quite a normal process, that there is this mix, this adaptation, and everything is also fighting to find the nice compromise, that to keep the philosophical also perspective and point of view for this small organization, and not say, and it's difficult, but not say, okay, it's just readaptation, it's greenwashing, it's open washing, but to find something else, to understand also how it works. And that's why for me it was really important to have these big pictures, and to say, okay, our objectives as a DIY scientist or small organization, this is our objective, and we will keep it. But maybe we will have to discuss also with these people. How can we do? Which compromise could we find? And I don't have a solution.
No,
really.
That's a big challenge.
It's a big challenge, but it's important to understand that it's not new. It's a history of our society. It's social science. It's how human being works. Also, there is small groups. There is fighting. There is evolution, and luckily that there is evolution. But it's always some disagreement, compromise, and today also these compromises are based on technological topic, like for example free internet. Like it's how we will defend our privacy. It's a big topic, and it's just right now.
I just want to tie it back into maybe the example of the bill. This is I guess it's
Looking for excitement? Chumba Casino is here. Play anytime, play anywhere. Play on the train, play at the store, play at home, play when you're bored. Play today for your chance to win and get daily bonuses when you log in. So what are you waiting for? Don't delay. Chumba Casino is free to play.
Experience social gameplay like never before. Go to Chumba Casino right now to play hundreds of games, including online slots, bingo, Slingo, and more. Live the Chumba life at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ13 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
So the French authorities using a participatory approach, digital technology, for participation, whatever that means, to include other people in the decision-making process in crafting this bill. So do you see that as... I guess there's many levels. There's the fact your research is about the different stakeholders and their perspective on open science and what kind of policy needs to be in place to support open science in France. But then there's also the fact that they used a participatory approach to make this policy. So there's
it's
how did these things go together?
It's really, and it's what I in my research, I'm using an approach. The name is a grounded theory. It means like I really use all what I observed during the digital bill to find a model, like not a big general theory, but to explain how it works and what are the stakes and the conflict. And one aspect is to see that everything is combined. When we speak today about technologies, sometimes it is participatory approach, but just we will let them talk because it's great. They have the right to discuss about the law, and it's more the efficiency part. We have to adapt. The old world would try to adapt to this new way of doing stuff with digital technology, the participatory part. And the other part is more related to comments and new way of thinking governance, and it's more a contribution part. And I distinguish clearly in my PhD participatory democracy and contributive democracy. And contribution, it's more this approach that all the citizens are knowledge, and we have also to introduce this knowledge because I know, for example, in the digital bill, one article was proposed by the gamers gamers on, because they say that we have to regulate the economical perspective of the gamers online with all the all this game where you have to pay or you can pay, and they add a new article on the digital bill, and this article stay after because the government. They didn't think about these gamers between 18 and 25 and 30 years old, and they didn't really know about this topic. That's why a new article was added to the law.
Not contested.
Sorry?
And not contested by anybody.
No, because it's really fun. It was so strong, it was because also this idea that more you vote for an article, the government will look at the more voted article.
Okay, and so they had huge numbers of followers on Twitch and YouTube, so they got and it's one of also the part of this digital bit. It's so interesting for all this consultative process. Maybe you could actually just explain how the consultation process works.
Yes, it was really at the beginning of the how you create a new bill. It's often in France, I don't know for the other country, in a ministry, for example, can decide to add a new bill. And it was the Economics Ministry of Economy, who decided to start this law with a woman, Axel Lemer, who were pushing for this digital bill. And it was really at the beginning. And there is a first version of the law. And after there is this consultation. But it was really at the beginning, because after this consultation, there is a lot of different legislative steps with all the, in France's Assemblée Nationale, all the parliaments, and a lot of discussion before the law is accepted. And the consultation was in between 3 weeks between September 2015 and November or October, and the final law was in October 2016. And there is still discussion about some, and in research about some what we call décret. Well, I don't know the name, but decree, I don't know. Yeah. But it's not in the law, but you have to discuss in other part of the law.
I think in German it would be something like a Richtlinie.
Maybe.
And for German listeners, I don't know what the English it's not a law, it's like guidance, it's like a guideline maybe, but it's...
I'm not sure what that would officially be in English, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's sort of like less serious than a law.
Yes, and for example, for the text and data mining topic, which is an important topic today for research, exception to have the rights to just download some content online and to analyze it. So it's not sure. There is still
grey areas.
Yes, and fighting.
Okay.
But yes, for this consultation was really at the beginning, and for 3 weeks people have the right to. There is a lot of articles. They have to vote for an article. They
this
have to comment.
On all of digital technology, use of
Yes, it was on a platform. But there were also a lot of
I meant the bill related to all aspects of digital culture.
Yes,
digital
for example, but it was a lot about economy. For example, open data. Open data was a big topic, and I have a small presentation. I can give you the link if you want.
That would be cool
later. Yeah. But it was also about free access to internet neutrality. All this big topic about
everything.
Yes, a lot of things.
And open access.
Yes, open access was it was Article 9 on this consultation, and now it's Article 17, I think, or 30.
Okay.
And
3 weeks to discuss.
Yes, but
everything about digital rights.
Yes, it was short, but also some new institution. Like we have the name is Conseil National du Numérique. It's advisory board for all this question, as organized before the consultation, a contributive process, because it's really their state of mind to have contribution. There are a lot of people from the comments inside this advisory board, but to organize some session, not only online, but because we know also that every citizen will not go online for sure, and it's a specific citizen who already participated in this consultation. But yes, they try to, and it's really difficult. It takes a long time to discuss about this topic. But yes, the consultation was 3 weeks, and you can vote, comment, and propose new version of the article.
We're a little bit pressed for time, unfortunately, so I would like to turn into a brief last segment is sort of an outlook. Where do you see the future in the world of open science, be it from the academic point of view in context of the individual communities or researchers who want to do open science? What sort of movements or shifts in activity would you see in the future?
I think this for the practice, publishing open access or sharing data, or for example sharing code, is something will be more and more accepted in research, because young researcher, it's sometimes their way of also doing stuff. That's why it's new, and it's this idea that it's more efficient also, and for the best perspective of science, also for quality, and we have to change and evolve. That's why I think it's
How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1, go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2, collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3, play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games, all for free?
Step 4, unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ13 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
open science, it's like digital research practice will be more and more used in research today. But another point is that for what we call openness in Hack Your PhD or in small organization, it's also really a social movement and social rights to have, and it's something that we have to be aware, because and it will be the new kind of social movements today, because everything is related. A lot of things are related to internet, and you see what's going on today with Facebook, with these big tech companies today, the new one, the GAFA, Google, Amazon, Facebook, and so on, but also all this sharing economy platform, Airbnb, all this platform. There is new regulation. That's why it's really social rights to try to regulate also what's going on with this company. And I think that research is part of it, because there is still this big commercial publisher, but there is also new system, like new scientific social network. But when you think about Google Scholar also, or Google Books, when you are doing your research, you are not using For example, often young researchers, they just use Google Scholar and they are happy because they find sometimes the PDF or their article, but they don't think really where does it come from and how people have opened the document. And that's, I think that it's a new model, also new business model, new mercantilization of knowledge, which appears right now, will be there, and that we also have to be aware and find solution. But for me, it's always in French we say le jeu du chat et de la souris, the play of cat and mouse. I don't know how to. If you have English and expression and.
I think it's pretty much the same in German and English.
It's a game of cat and mouse.
Yeah, or ein Katz- und Maus-Spiel in German.
And for me, it's this idea that open science is something. It's not something static. It's also a world. Today, it's open science. Before, it was science 2.0. Before, it was e-science. Tomorrow, it will be maybe blockchain science. I don't know. You know, it's also
it's already coming.
Yes, that's why it's more to be aware that it's life.
Yeah.
People needs like these catchy words to discuss about a topic. And after, but just to be aware of that and try to say that there is always, but also because I'm French and you know that French and social rights, there is always demonstration and and also my model is for France. I don't know for the other country, and it would be really interesting to have some comparison, because also you can understand how a country has been organized for a while, and it's cultural also perspective, and it's really different. That's why maybe in the US it's really in France we have a lot of repository. You know, this green access. Yeah. But it's different because the public sector is really, even if it's less and less, but public sector in France is really public services are really stronger and people are fighting for that. Maybe it's really different in Germany, in the UK, in the US. And
there's definitely some.
I think there's the money's there, but I don't know how.
Yeah, but the whole idea of approaching this issue is completely different.
Taking more
the
time.
federal system in Germany is making it way harder than it has to be.
Yes, that's why it was my study.
Decentralized in Germany.
Yeah, but in the worst way possible.
But that's why it's it's a small study. Yeah. But I hope that, and also it's my way of hacking my PhD. My idea and I try to use open science framework to. I have to defend my PhD, but after I would like that this work. It's in French, but maybe we can have some translation to discuss about it. Maybe to add some collective chapter at the end to say, okay. I read your PhD and I was thinking about that. It's different in my case, and to find it's a way of, and I like discussing about this topic. Now it's here, we can discuss about it and find new way of doing it.
It's a very good point now, because unfortunately we have to wrap up, but now is the point where you can say, how can people get in touch with you if they got excited about the things that you just that you said? Is there ways to get in touch with you, I don't know, over social media or websites or like?
Sure. There is Hack Your PhD. In Hack Your PhD we have Twitter, Facebook group, who is also I know it's Facebook, but we have a mailing list also. We speak French but also English. But my PhD will be in French, but I have some presentation in English. And really this idea of also Hack Your PhD, and soon I will not be a PhD student anymore, and my dream is to I want to find other PhD students who continue this movement, because I will not be Hack Your PhD when I will be 50. You see?
That's
why.
Make a lot of sense.
Now I hope
it's
that
Hack Your Postdoc, then it's Hack Your Assistant
Hack Your
Professorship position, and Hack Your Professorship.
Yes, but I will hacking my life I will hacking stuff all my life, because it's my state of mind. But I hope that other people can participate and yes, on social media, and I think that after I finish my writing, I will have more time to go back with all this knowledge to yes.
Yeah, it's really, I just want to say thank you. It's really great to have this broad perspective on things, and I think those of us who are kind of fighting like inside our own communities don't often take that big a step back to have a look at everything. And it's for me, I think I'm maybe all of these names and words that we use for the different movements that we're involved with are a bit of a distraction, and there's kind of a core struggle at the heart of it between something kind of internet inspired, open, commons based future, and maybe it's some shift in that direction that's is what we're dealing with here.
Yes.
And whatever we call it, it's the same beast. And it's a social issue. It's more about how people interact with each other than anything else. Yeah. So I'm just want to say thank you very much for coming and doing this interview with us.
Thank you.
I'm really interested to see what happens with you after your PhD and where things go next.
We'll see. Lot of, and my plan is to go back to cognitive science, but mix it with, you know that I'm not you, Johan, but I'm a yoga teacher, and mix it with some studies about consciousness, and with some, I don't know, open hardware, EEG or stuff like that.
Okay.
And yes, I want to do more DIY science for the future. Yes, I have a lot of idea, but first, end of this.
Yeah. Finishing a PhD is something I can only recommend to put on to-do lists. It's on mine. And that was the fourth episode of the DIY Science Podcast with Célia Gruson-Daniel. Thank you very much again for being with us. I want to also extend the thank you to our listeners. There have been now on several occasions, surprisingly, people approached me and told me that they're listeners to this podcast. I'm really happy about that. So if you like this, consider subscribing to us on iTunes or anywhere where you get your podcasts. Tell your friends about us. And if you want to get in contact with us, we have a Twitter account. It's DIY Sci Podcast. Or you find an email address in the link to this episode as well. So thank you for listening, and until next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.